Hey everybody, welcome back to part two with Miss Sarah Marie Thiessen. I am Becky. Ashley had to leave. She had an appointment. Sarah and I could literally talk all day, every day. So I feel like our conversation started to go too long. Unfortunately, Ashley had to leave, but that's okay because her and I are back together here to discuss more about breast cancer, more about her experience, my experience, a shared experience. And it's kind of cool to talk to somebody who also has her too. Welcome back, Sarah, to our show. Hello.
Okay.
So we had to end abruptly. Your dog was digging, and
Yes.
it happens. This is what happens on podcasting. You just have to roll with it. I try not to edit things just because I want people to know, it's real life. We forget
Life
words. Things
happens.
happen. Dogs bark. Someone comes to the door. Like when we started to record, Amazon came to the door and my dogs were freaking out. And so it is what it is. It's real life. We're real humans. We got stuff going on. So
I like it.
anyway, welcome back. So at this point in the interview, Sarah actually got a call from her doctor. So instead of having an awkward transition that didn't make sense, I thought I would give her a shout out on her photography and videography page, Wild Love Media. If you're looking for a fantastic photographer or videographer, contact her here. And once again, we have gone against YouTube's community guidelines and we have had our video taken down with warnings. So I've had to heavily edit this video. Head over to Rumble at Two Girls with Cancer, not without, we haven't changed it yet, but Two Girls with Cancer in order to see the original video that got us flagged.
So I have some medical appointments I have to do. Actually, I have CT scan coming up like next week as well. I'm a little bit excited about because I've been taking these new ROS1 medicines, and luckily, because it's a targeted treatment, there has been cases of 100% reversed
Okay.
cases. So
Okay.
there is potential. Now, there is also potential that I could just be on these medicines for the rest of my life and I'll still get another 10, 15 years, as we know right now. Like, people are still living at 10 years. So it could go even longer, right, with our condition. But it is terminal what I have because I can't remove it. My breast cancer
Mhm.
is gone, but the ROS1 is still there. So,
Mhm.
yeah, CT scan should tell a lot. I've been feeling better. Like, I don't know if you can even tell on camera, but if you were to even just look at like the definition here,
Mhm.
so I can push in
Mhm.
way more on this side. Like
Yeah.
this side, I can pretty much dig all the way back into that collarbone there. On this side, I can't really go very far. Like
Mm.
I
A lot
can't
of
get under.
inflammation, scar tissue in there.
Yeah, I can't get under it. It won't
Mm.
let me. So, but this one I can almost grab my whole
Totally.
collarbone, like literally dig my fingers right under.
I was gonna say they say too that if you're puffy neck, chest, collarbone, armpits, it's major lymphatic inflammation. So I'm not surprised if you've got, cancer and things going on in this area, it would be very inflamed. It would be hard to push in.
Hmm. So there's like basically when they did the biopsy, they were basically able to see like the tissue kind of growing up into here already. And then, like, it looks like, I think what they described, like little balls, like it's like little balls kind of all like stuck together almost.
Mm.
Um so it looks like little, how can I describe it? Like Warbies, I think they're called Warbies balls.
I don't,
Those
oh,
little
like those little jelly things?
yeah, the jelly balls. Yeah, it looks like all these jelly balls, like kind of
Interesting.
on an ultrasound. Yeah, it looks very odd. It looks different. But I do think that it's something that can be reversible. I
Mhm.
don't think it's something that's permanent. As we discussed, like, if it is scar tissue or even just inflammation, it's something that I think once they get rid of the triggers and the main things that set it off in the first place, it should go down quite a bit and the medicine should help. But
Mhm.
like what they've described my cancer as is like, apparently if like one cell has a ROS1 gene, basically that ROS1 gene will just duplicate around that area where that one
Mhm.
cell is. So if you don't get rid of the one cell, then it'll just keep coming back. So I think it's something a matter of like just slowing the progression down for me.
Mhm.
So they put
Mhm.
a heart stent in my veins. They went in through this vein here in the neck. They were going to go through this massive one that I've had here. So that one is actually completely occluded. It doesn't, there's no blood flow in there anymore. That's a dead jugular vein, completely dead. Like they went and checked it with the ultrasound and they're like, there's nothing, like we can't put
Wow.
stent through there because it like is basically like a blood clot, right? So then they also told me like, oh, you also have blood clots, where we put the stent after they gave
Oh
me the
yeah,
stent.
naturally.
So now apparently I have to be on lifelong blood thinners, but I mean, I'm the kind of person who's like, I need to be on lifelong what for that one day I'm going to get a blood clot? Are you joking? Like, I'm like, how about I just try and cleanse my blood every day and just
You
do blood cleansers?
You need to look into nattokinase. So it comes from the Japanese natto, which is fermented soy. Now, I don't think all soy is great, but in this case, yes, it is. It is fermented soy. It is a supplement that you take, and it is a natural blood thinner. It
Okay.
promotes circulatory health. It is to protect you against cardiac events.
That
Nattokinase.
sounds like what I need.
It breaks up blood clots. I've started taking it. Not that I have blood clotting, but I'm on this like huge mitochondrial protocol reset. Cell damage post chemo, which probably would actually be good for you, quite honestly. But I'm also on the nattokinase, and like I want to say in the last 2 weeks that I've been on this protocol, I just feel like mental clarity, energy. I feel like I'm
Mm.
glowing a little more than I was because as my cells heal, as the blood's able to flow through my body better, I dare I say I think it's working. So I'm not just on natto. I'm on like a whole bunch of things like
Yeah.
NAC, N-acetylcysteine, which creates more glutathione in your body. Glutathione's your master antioxidant. So like that's really important, for liver health, for example. You're on
Mhm.
pharmaceuticals, your liver is taking a beating from that.
Yep.
NMN, which is for like literal mitochondrial healing. Like I'm on beef organs, like supplement, like I'm on a whole bunch of stuff, but like I actually think it's working. I'm going to send you this amazing podcast I
Sure.
listened
Yeah.
to
Send me your protocol.
from,
I want to know what you're doing.
yeah, it's like a whole
Everyone's
thing.
got so much different information from like all these different sources. And I feel like, once you get on the rabbit hole, it's never ending how much stuff that you could do for
Totally.
it.
Well, everyone's like,
But
oh,
it's
you
nice to
have
hear
to try.
references, right? Like someone who's
Yeah.
actually doing it themselves.
Well, so many people, like when I first got sick, they're like, "Oh, have you tried the Budwig protocol?" And I said, "No, I didn't because it's like high flax." Like my doctors in Mexico were like, "Do not do flax because it can mimic estrogen or increase your levels of estrogen." But like there's a whole protocol taking flax oil and things like that that actually kills cancer. So it's like, what is the right answer? What's
Fruit
right
flax
for
was
me?
good for HER2 cancer. I'm very surprised that they said no. I know it increases
Yeah,
estrogen, but we don't have estrogen receptive cancer.
their concern was that, and also my doctor
It can
here said,
mutate, they say, though. It can mutate.
yes, exactly. My doctor here had said if the cancer comes back, likely it will come back as estrogen
Estrogen.
positive, even though
Mm,
it started
okay.
as HER2. And so my doctors in Mexico were like, avoid uh, uh, mimicking estrogen mimicking foods. I mean, I was real strict when I first got sick. I've been pretty lax the last year, mostly because I wanted to feel like a human again. And I thought, like, I don't know, like I was doing everything right and I got sick. And it's like, so maybe if I do everything wrong, I won't get sick. I don't know. I'm in like a weird headspace about that. But I am trying out all kinds of different things, checking like different protocols and seeing how I'm feeling. And this is the first time of all the things I've done that something's working for me. And like same with Ashley, she's tried all the things. You should have seen this bag. You should go back in our videos and watch like early season one. We talk about her protocols. She brought in a superstore bag like this, like full, or a Dollarama bag, like full of supplements.
Yeah.
But now she's finally found this thing with the nano silver that's like actually working for her. So it's like once you find something, man, like it's so relieving. And I'm not saying like, hey, I'm a person who knows nothing, like let me help you heal cancer, but it's like if I can at least give you some information that's working for me, try it, research it. If it works for you, beautiful. If it doesn't, well, there's other protocols you can try.
Absolutely. There's so much out there. How about I go through some of the things I've tried so
I would love
far
that.
over the
Yes.
last few years? And I mean, mine is very, very holistic.
Mhm.
Like,
Love it.
like you doing the colonics, I'm like, that is way beyond. Like, I'm like, I have not gotten that far into it
There's
yet because I'm
crunchy, and
scared.
then there's sticking stuff up your butt crunchy. And you're just like,
There's
not
just some
quite there
things
yet.
I'm kind of scared of trying. I'm just like, yeah, like I know that
Don't
it
do
works
it.
and I'm
Don't
sure it
do
will
it.
work and I'm sure it would be great. Am I really willing? I'm like, not
Yeah,
yet. I'm
girl.
like, look, if
Yeah,
I
girl.
progress, we're gonna do that. But Like it's one of those, there's some things I just won't go near yet. Like IVs, for example. Okay, I've wanted to do IVs. I've heard
Mhm.
about them, IVC especially. You cannot take vitamin C at a high dose orally. It just won't work. You won't absorb it.
You
You need to
get out,
take it in the
right.
blood,
Yes.
you know, and vitamin C is an oxygen creator. Basically, it creates oxygen in your blood, so it's super essential for someone like me who, let's say, has all this lung chest stuff going
Mhm.
on and blood stuff going on, limiting the amount of actual oxygen getting to my blood cells. So something like IV I've really wanted to try, but I have not done yet, and it's been on my list. It's been my bucket list, the colonics and the IV. Those are the two things that I have been dying to try yet and haven't had the chance. The
And
IV thing, mostly.
I would just wonder with the vitamin C, because it is an antioxidant and you're putting toxins into your body with oral chemo, if it would counteract it to the point where the oral chemo is no longer effective. That's my only
That's a
concern
fair
with
point
vitamin
because I
C.
do take the ROS1 medicines. That is a very fair point.
That
I
is like my
haven't
only
considered the
concern.
interactions with it yet. And this is a new drug for me as well. So just figuring out like what kind of things that I can do with it and what I can't.
Right.
I have actually right now, I'm letting ROS1 medicine do its magic. I
Yeah.
have stopped everything else. I'm like, my breast cancer's
Yep.
gone now. That's great. We've dealt with that journey. I did the whole holistic medicine thing throughout the whole journey because they had failed me so many times that I didn't have a choice. Like
Hmm.
I genuinely was like, if I do nothing, then I'm just a dying sad sack, and that would be
Yeah,
depressing.
literally.
So
Yeah.
let's just try something. So when I was in Australia, actually, I had a friend with MS, and her neighbor would give her like weed's not legal in Australia, right?
Mhm.
So she would give her like this mull from a plant that he had growing for his own personal MS as well. So he grew a plant privately, and he had like a you can get a medical like license to grow for yourself,
Mhm.
right? So he had like a medical license to grow for himself, and then he shared whatever leftover trimmings he would get with her, and she would make like these butter edibles. Basically, she'd
Mhm.
just make a butter, and then with the butter would put it in her food and things like this. And so I was like, you know what, like I'm gonna try that, yeah, because the RSO oil is supposedly supposed to work, and so I was like, it can't hurt. They say cannabis is good, so I'm gonna try it. So I actually started to make my own cannabis oils, and I
Mhm.
had done a lot of research into the different acids that are available in each oil, and as well as its bioavailability in the body
Mhm.
and the toxicity in the body too. Certain oils are healthier for you, some are not so healthy. I found when I went through the different oils, each one has different acid levels. So some have
Mhm.
more like oleic acid, lionic acid, and each of those acids will break down different strains of the cannabinoids and the
Right.
terpenes.
And if you're
So,
like a person who's, down the seed oil trains and you're like, "Oh, oleic acid," like,
mm,
can't. So, I mean, yes, I completely understand where you're going with this one.
So I did avocado oil, I did
Mhm.
coconut oil, I did grape seed oil, and those were my three main oils that I used because all their different acid ranges were different. So that
Mhm.
meant they would be getting different ranges of the cannabinoids.
Mhm.
And I would alternate between each of these oils each day, and I would, no joke, I drank this stuff out of the bottle. I didn't measure it. I didn't care. I drank it out of the
Yeah.
bottle. I rubbed it all over my skin, all over my back, all over any like main veins and belly button, any lymph nodes and things like this, in the neck, on the spine, in the forehead and temples and things like this, like anything that I could to get it into my
Oh,
body as fast as
interesting.
possible.
Wow.
And I also did capsules. So I would buy my own gel capsules and I would fill them all up with the oils, and then I would have like a massive pack of these capsules, and I would do them suppository so that way it could pass through the blood-brain barrier and things like this. And I always thought that it was probably smarter if I was going to be doing medicine to not have my stomach acids ruin
Right.
any of the
100%.
chemistry,
Mhm.
right? So I did that every single day. I also found along my black hole journey. Now I know medicine is some things alternative is frowned upon. So I've worked in
Mhm.
the cattle industry, right? I've worked on farms with livestock and things like this. veterinary medicine is very akin to human medicine. And in fact, most human medicine is studied from what we've done with animals.
Right.
But what they tell you by the FDA is that if it's used on animals, it's not technically safe for humans
Right.
because they haven't tested it on humans. Now, if they don't want to test it on humans, it's probably because they have other medicines to offer humans. So humans usually get mebendazole, albendazole, all the zoles basically for
Mhm.
dewormers. Now, for animals, they have fenbendazole and ivermectin, and that's about it, right? And
Mhm.
so humans use a different type of dewormer than what the animals use. And I believe in using all of them. So in Thailand, when I travel, right, you eat meat a lot on your travels that maybe is questionable. You're like, okay, I don't know where this animal come from. I don't know how it's been eating. You know, it's just running around, running amok in the neighborhood, eating garbage, probably, right?
Yeah,
So,
literally.
I mean, in Thailand especially, they don't really have farms. You know, like the chickens just roam and then they kill them
And
when they're done,
probably
or
no
they
standards like that
there
we're
is
used to.
not really.
Yes,
And
right.
even with the food, like after they cooked it, they'll leave it out and there's flies all over it and things like
Yuck.
this. You try to get away from it. And I avoided eating a lot of meat because of it. And I just, when I went to Thailand, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm like, oh. And I think like, okay, well, if I think about this about me in, you know, another country, well, what about in my own country? Like, why don't I think about it this way in my own country? What makes
Mhm.
my country more sanitary than this? I'm like, well, not much once I started to work in the cattle industry. I started to
Mhm.
actually learn how bad our food system is. When I worked in a farming industry, I could not believe it. The amount of poisons, the amount of chemicals that they give these animals every single day. They are constantly giving them antibiotics. They're constantly giving them vaccinations. And what's crazy is like the hormones and the vaccinations and the dewormers and things like this. All that stuff is great. The dewormers are great. They're the only thing that have no side effects in the animals. Dewormers, no joke.
Mhm.
The only
Yeah.
thing. Everything else that they give the animals has nasty side effects that you come back and you see the animals the day after and you're like, oh my gosh, they're just getting worse.
That's
Like they're not
horrific.
getting better,
You're
you know?
right.
And a lot of the things that they're injecting into them, you see their body gets these massive lumps, like look like cancerous lumps. And what they do is they basically say, don't inject into the lump because if you inject into the lump, it won't get into the body.
Oh my
And what does
gosh.
that tell you? What is it? The body is walling off what you've injected and trying to remove it and expel
Yeah,
it out of the
literally
body. It doesn't want
a
it.
cancer. It's
It's literally a
encapsulated.
cancer. And so you're
Oh
seeing
my
these tumors growing on these animals, and we're just selling these animals to humans to eat. And I'm like, and we're making the cancers in them by giving them these vaccinations and things like this, all because of a whole entire brainwash system that they have shipping fever, they have this, they have that. Okay, sure, they're stressed in transit, but I think they're going to be a little bit more stressed when they're put through a squeeze and vaccinated and put through a bunch of these horrible treatments.
right. Yeah.
That's only going to make it worse, you know? And I mean, I found like farm bred animals that are out on pastures are much healthier than ones
Oh
in
yeah, of
feedlots.
course. Yeah, of course.
Ones on pastures are pretty much left alone. They do not vaccinate ones on pastures. They just leave them because they're not
Mhm.
in such close quarters, right?
Yes.
So the whole entire thing, I started to learn a little bit about the ivermectin, about the fenbendazoles, about mebendazoles. In Thailand, they sell dewormers over the counter at 7-Eleven for
Yeah,
30 cents.
most countries in the world actually deworm their population. North America, for whatever reason, is real
One
ignorant
of the only ones
to
that
it.
don't.
They think that our standards are so great. Okay, I'm sorry. Have you ever heard of pork? Pork is full of parasites. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
It's full of parasites. But they think that our standards are so high that they don't need to deworm. Most countries is every 6 months.
Yeah, every 6 months. And even then, to be honest with you, like every 6 months isn't enough because
Exactly.
technically, if you understand the worm life cycle, you can kill them once, but you're still having flukes. Your flukes are going to go back in about
Mhm.
2 to 4 weeks, which is why you need to do it every 6 months. But are you ever actually fully clearing them if they just keep recycling back into the body?
If you've ever
Not
seen a
really.
liver fluke, you would be so disgusted. You would be like,
I
get
have
this out of me.
researched it and I'm like, eh!
Yeah, it's
Terrifying.
disgusting. They look
Terrifying.
like little flat, I don't even know, flat worms. They're disgusting.
Flatworms,
And
yeah.
they literally grow inside of you. And so like North America, get your life together here because this is
No
disgusting.
kidding. I'm just like, and I tell my family this, and my family is just like,
No,
ew,
never.
what? Talking about ew, it's gross that you want to live with parasites in your body. You'll deworm your
Yes.
cat, but you won't deworm yourself.
So I said this the other day. We were camping this weekend. I had this book by Barbara O'Neill, Sustain Me. It's such a great book. And my dad was reading it, kind of poking fun at it. Yeah, he was just playing, whatever. My dad is not super crunchy like me. And I was saying to him, I was like, it's very important to take magnesium and other minerals because our soil is so depleted of the
It
minerals
is.
that we once had. You know, we don't do regenerative farming. We have chemicals like crazy, glyphosate like crazy. And he's like, "Oh, are you
Even
the
the
farmers on
fertilizers
there?"
that they put in
Yeah,
are toxic. The
I know.
fertilizers are freaking toxic. So it's like, well,
My husband,
the natural vitamins and minerals in the soil are not toxic. So
exactly,
why are we putting toxins into the soil to get those vitamins and minerals?
exactly.
It's not healthy.
My husband tried to buy Roundup, and I like lost my mind, and I was like, "You can pick those dandelions
You go,
out
girl. You go,
by
girl.
hand." And I was like, "I'm sorry, I'm trying to heal from cancer, and you're spraying our house with Roundup? Are you insane?" Like I was mad. I was so mad.
No, you have
But
every
again,
right.
yeah. So
We
I mean,
don't
like,
realize these things though. Like we are
no.
so brainwashed to ignore the poisons that we're putting around our everyday bodies. And when we get sick, we question why.
Mhm. Exactly. Like I did everything right. No, you didn't. Your
Yeah.
food. Okay, again, like yesterday, I saw somebody from Europe had a conversation with him about the European standards compared to here. He couldn't believe how bad our food was here and
We
how
still use
things are
glyphosate. They
went here.
stopped using glyphosate in the UK because they
Exactly.
know how bad it is. They banned it.
Girl, do you want to hear something really frustrating? So about a year ago, I was trying to just like take advantage of all the courses that the Cross Cancer Institute had. So they did a
Mm,
nutrition and breast cancer. So I signed on a Zoom call and she was talking about different foods. Well, she just pulls out the Canadian Food Guide, which as we know is a scam in itself. Um, and then she's talking about like, you don't have to limit anything. You don't need organic because there's no difference. Our standards are so high. There's no difference between organic and non organic. First of all, she said you don't have to worry about what's in the meat because Canada doesn't use antibiotics in their product. So you don't have to worry
shit.
about meat. Yeah,
I
like
have
they may
worked
not
in
use the
feedlots.
same, they may not go crazy like the States does, but it's still pretty disgusting, right? So you don't have to worry about that. Yeah, you don't have to limit the things you're eating by any means. You should get lots of whole grains. If you don't like meat, like definitely load up on plant-based meats, which as we know has like 9,000 ingredients in it. Like
Yep.
I was really horrified and I got off and I was like, okay, I'm awake. I'm crunchy. I know that everything that she just said was wrong. I said, I truly think this lady believes it was true. I said, but there's a lot of vulnerable women who are going through this cancer journey going, okay, this is what my nurse
Soaking
is.
all that information in. Yeah.
I was furious, Sarah. I was so mad. And I was like, how is this a thing? Nobody is going to get better
My
ever. And they
grandma,
should have a plan.
I hate it. My grandma, she passed away. So she
Mhm.
got brain cancer. She got
Oh,
diagnosed after I did, and she passed away. And I just can't believe it. I'm just like, she got it so quick and then she was just gone. And I'm just like, looking at her journey, it was radiation to the brain,
mhm,
surgery, 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 chemo, 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 chemical,
mhm,
chemical, steroids,
mhm,
steroids, da 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 da. She took every single freaking chemical in the bloody book to the point where her face
mhm,
was ballooning out and she was just getting
mhm.
awful. And I'm like, look at you, grandma. Like, I'm like, this isn't helping. And I'm like, at what point are you going to stop poisoning yourself? And it
Mhm.
broke my heart when at the end of it, she couldn't speak. She was in a coma. And I just thought, I'm sorry, but I know cancer does not grow that fast. It was
Right.
not the cancer that grew
Unless
that
it's
took her. It was
exasperated.
all of the chemicals that killed her brain. She couldn't function.
I
And it
know a
just makes me
lady,
so sad.
I know it's horrible.
They don't understand. They believe and they trust these people, but what they don't realize is oncologists make over $1 million a year.
Yeah, right.
Of course they're gonna tell
I
you
think
anything.
I think especially with like, your grandma's generation, they were raised where news was fact, right? News
It
was
was, yeah.
truth.
Yeah.
Your doctor is truth. And then they got pumped all this like margarine information, or low fat generation, where they all, they couldn't eat anything that was natural, like butter or whatever, because it was bad for them. And so they're pumping all these chemicals into their body. And it's unfortunate that your grandma fell victim to this, quite honestly. That's what it is. It's victim.
It is. No.
I was very pro medical system when my kids were born. I was like full pro vax everything. Like my friends were
Mhm.
anti-vaxxers, and I was like, oh my god, your kids are gonna get polio. Like I just knew nothing, right? And it took meeting a new friend, and she was pretty crunchy, and she started telling me things, and like finally one day I just woke up, and then COVID hit, and then it like really woke me up. And like I'm so thankful that I had this awakening prior to getting cancer, because I
You
would have
didn't get
just
the shot,
dove.
did you?
No, I didn't. I got fired
That's
actually for
good.
not taking the shot. I lost my job over it. But I would have dove right into everything, and it took me 4 months to dive into hard chemo, because I was just boosting my immune system that whole time. And it's probably why I breezed through it. Honestly,
Mm.
it's like, yeah, okay, like I do think there is a place for modern medicine, conventional medicine, in an emergency
For sure.
situation.
Sure.
For sure. I am very thankful that Herceptin was created.
Me
Okay. I'm
too.
not bashing on it like
I
that.
am not bashing the medical, no,
But I
but
also
there are
think if
some
you're gonna,
things that I
yeah,
think have been misinformed and have been
exactly.
pushed too much.
I just think if you're gonna pump your body full of poison, you need to support it in the meantime as well,
And
because all of a
detox
sudden,
and cleanse and yeah.
exactly. And like after, I tried really hard to detoxify right after chemo. I had the worst Herxheimer like healing crisis post, because my body just couldn't do it. If you're trying to detox without the proper pathways, channels of elimination, then you're going to get very sick. As someone
Yeah.
who's chronically constipated and then just had major, major digestional upset from chemotherapy, trying to detox right after, really tough, really, really hard.
Mm,
So it's like, but they don't teach you this. I literally had to learn this all from meeting new people,
mm.
going on online and joining natural groups, and really just guess and check, trying it and seeing what happened. So this is
Good
hard.
thing is though, I think that you questioned things. I think that's the first step, is questioning things. You don't question it, then you won't go looking elsewhere for other answers and options.
I wish people would question it though. I mean, the one beautiful thing about COVID having happened is that it did awaken a lot
A
of
lot of
people
people.
to a lot
Yeah.
of things, like, hey, are they lying to us? Is like the medical system
Yeah.
controlling us? A lot of people did wake up because of that. Thank the Lord. The amount of people that I see come in to my place to get their blood done that say, I took it and I regret it. I took it and I wish I didn't. I've not
That's the
met
other
one.
thing. My grandma got the shots as
Of course
well.
she did, yeah.
She got all the
I
shots,
I haven't
and
met
they
one
say that if you get the
person.
shot and you have cancer, it accelerates it.
Well, Ashley did, because she didn't know she took it. And that's, shortly after she had stage 4 cancer. And she believes that that's
Also,
probably what
so she had the
accelerated it.
shot before she had been.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow. I mean,
So if you
chances
have
are she
cancer,
could have
everyone.
had it before, but if anything, that would have accelerated it to the point where like it grows so fast and out of control.
Yeah.
But that's the
I
thing, right? That
actually
they say it makes it like a turbo cancer. It
turbo.
speeds it up
Yeah.
to 4 times the growth,
Yeah. No, like how
which
does
is
a
crazy.
Ashley, I'm pointing like she's here. Ashley was very fit, very healthy, in the gym all the time, meal prepping, like all like healthy, healthy girl. How did she
Mhm.
have stage 4 cancer? Tell me how.
Yeah.
It doesn't
Yeah.
happen. Like in no time in history are we seeing young people get sick the way that we are now. And it's mind-boggling. And it's like the whole reason why I have a podcast is so I can help introduce people to an alternative option. You don't
I love
have
it.
to do what your doctor says. We have an episode titled "Your Doctor is Not God," and that was after Ashley was given the prognosis. And it was like, you do not have to accept what your doctor is saying. You do not have to do the protocol. You don't have to be pressured into it.
Mm.
You don't have to do something you're not comfortable with.
Yeah.
There will be other practitioners who can help you through it. I mean, if you
You have
choose,
every right to say no. And my gosh, they will try and they will tell you that you have to do this thing in order to do this next thing. But if
yes, my
you say
husband,
no and you refuse, they have no choice but to give you that next step that you can
yeah,
have because
literally.
they cannot refuse you treatment. They can't.
My
But you can
surgeon,
accept treatment. So
yeah.
they can tell you, we'll do this first, and if you accept this, then we'll get you on to this.
Mhm.
But they're never going to give you this, what you really need first. They're always going to give you
Yeah,
these
of
other
course.
things. So they always try to tell you, like, for example, with Herceptin, they're like, we cannot give you Herceptin on its
Mhm.
own. And I said,
Yeah.
why? They said, well, because we have a drug arrangement with the pharmaceutical company that gives us Herceptin, that the only way that they will actually register us doses for a customer. So they get it ordered in per customer and the certain amount of doses needed. And so the only way that they get this is if they also purchase the chemotherapy alongside of it. The pharmaceutical company has refused to give Herceptin solo, even
Mhm.
though it's been proven to work efficiently on its own. So when
Mhm.
I discussed with the doctors and I said, so is there no possible way you can give me just the targeted treatment?
Mhm.
I do not want the chemotherapy and all the other drugs. They say no. And I go, but why? When the statistics say that the Herceptin can work on its own just
Mhm.
fine. There's no reason to give me all these other drugs. And all these other drugs are way more expensive. But that's more money in their pocket. And that's why they do it. It's a 2-in-1 deal. Now, what they did say, this is the crazy catch. What they did say was that if you wanted to do only Herceptin, well, we would just need to get you to do 1 dose of chemotherapy. And then you can do just Herceptin. And I went, why? Is that just so you can get the signature from your pharmaceutical saying that I took the dose of chemo? And they
Yeah.
said, yes, we need a signature from the person who gave you the dose of chemo in order to give you the Herceptin. And I
Oh
just
my
went,
God.
what?
Corruption. This is
I am dying,
corruption.
and you're going to tell me you're not going to give me this thing that I need for something that I don't need. And I'm
Yeah.
like, this is madness. And I'm like, I am not. The crazy thing is in Australia, I had to pay for this.
Mhm.
It was my money that I was
Mhm.
paying for my treatment. I left those bills because I was like, you guys botched me. You messed me up. I said, screw it. I'm not paying these bills. And I left and
Totally.
I come to Canada. I owe like $30,000 to the Australian government, which I will probably pay back out of karma because that's what I want to do. I want to go back to Australia. But honestly, all up the medicines and everything that they gave me and all the surgeries and everything that they did to me, even though at the end of the journey I was still worse off than I was when I first got
Mhm.
diagnosed. And nothing was done, even though I had had 2 other surgeries. I had done the chemotherapy. I've done everything that they asked, except for radiation, which I refused.
Mhm.
And of which I will get into that detail because that was crazy as well. Same thing. Okay, they will tell you that, okay, I'll do this surgery for you, no problem, but you have to go to radiation after. And I said, I
Mhm.
don't want radiation. They go, it doesn't matter, just talk to the team. And I said, but why? And they just say, because I'm done my job. That's the next person in line. You at least need to talk to them. The reason they do this is because there is a right of responsibility for every person that is looking after you in your case. Now, that
Mhm.
right of responsibility is signed on to them for as long as you are associated with that case. So if
Mhm.
she didn't pass me on to the radiation team, then I would still be her responsibility. So
Ah,
this is how the
interesting.
surgeons wash themselves of all the bullshit that they did and just
Interesting.
pass you to the radiation team, even though she left the cancer behind and she knew it. And she just
Ah.
went, I don't care, just talk to the radiation team. I never had to talk to the radiation team. No one from the radiation team ever even got a hold of me. I don't even
Interesting.
know how she was going to do this, but it was like, it was just talk. It's all just this talk. I just wanted to wash you clean of
Almost
my
like
responsibility.
almost like threats, right? Because it
Yeah.
scares you. The whole system is built on fear tactics. I had a surgeon as a first stop in Alberta. You see the surgeon. He gives you the scans you need and decides if you need neoadjuvant chemo, meaning prior to surgery, or if you do surgery first. Depending on the severity, you may have to do neoadjuvant, which is what they wanted to do for me. I was like,
Yeah, me
screw you
too.
guys. I'm going home. I went to Mexico, did my treatments, came back, saw him because I wanted to know what my next steps were. I didn't tell him at first I went to Mexico, though I sent his assistant all of my Mexican scans and blood work literally in Spanish. So, I mean, like at some point they should have looked at it and seen. And I'm talking to him and he was like, "Oh, you didn't lose your hair." So, and I was like, "Oh, but I did 4 rounds of chemo." And he's like, "Well, you were supposed to do 6. Let me call your oncologist and just make sure she'll do 2 more or if we have to start over." And I was like, "Well, actually, I went to Mexico. So then his whole tune changed. He was mad. He was telling me it was not the standard level of care. I just wasted 2 months of my
Whoa.
life. And I was like, can you look at my MRI, please? And just like see that literally cancer is gone in my breast. No, I'm not looking at it, he says. I said, well, then can you give me an MRI to see where I'm at? No, I'm not giving you that. And he goes, and now I'm going to give you surgery. I goes, I'm not even going to call your oncologist anymore and ask her. He goes, I'm going to give you surgery and I'm going to take every one of the lymph nodes in your armpit instead of doing a sentinel node biopsy where they just take 3 or 4 lymph
Yeah, a
nodes
couple.
out to test them.
He did
And
a
he
whole
goes,
clearance.
I'm going to take all of them and you're probably going to end up with lymphedema. And I was like, why? And he's like, well, because, he was mad, right? He was acting really nice, like he was caring about me, but I could see that it was like he was mad, like someone questioned his authority, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then so he said, I'll give you till Friday. And it was Monday. He goes, I'll give you till Friday to make that decision. And I was like, what is the decision? Because he's like, you can contact your oncologist and go back to her and do the full round of chemo, all 6 with her, or I do the surgery where I take all of your lymph nodes. This was my option. And so Friday came and went. My husband's like, why haven't you decided? And I was like, this guy doesn't decide my life on a timeline. You're asking me to do something huge, like lose a boob, get lymphedema, lose my hair, be sick. And I was like, and I have 4 days to decide. Like, no, screw that guy. So I just kept putting it off. I went and saw the medical oncologist, the chemo oncologist at the time. She was like, well, let me talk to him, because she goes, actually, standard protocol is a sentinel node biopsy, only taking 3 or 4 lymph nodes to see if there's still cancer in them.
And isn't it crazy that that's the standard protocol, even though they can take an ultrasound to your armpit
Yes,
and
of
see if there
course.
are any questionable lymph nodes? And if there
Yeah.
are none, why are they removing them in the first place?
My mother-in-law had breast cancer, and she said on the table they biopsied it, had a pathologist right there doing it, so they knew if they needed to take more out or not. So she ended up
Yeah.
losing 7 on the table because that's still what had cancer. For mine, they put in this like radioactive dye, it stains it, it's blue, whatever. They
Yeah, that's
take
what
out
I
whatever
had.
lights
Yeah.
up. But anyway, so I get a call later that day after I saw my medical oncologist. I get a call from my surgeon's office. Hi, this is so and so, and it was a new doctor. We're just going to book you a consultation to meet him. My doctor had dropped me as a patient because he did not like that I disagreed with him. And a new surgeon had to take me on. And you know what? That new surgeon was an angel. He sent me for an MRI. He read my MRIs from Mexico. He wanted to know what I had done. And because of that relationship I built with him, I trusted his opinion enough to do the chemo. It wasn't an ideal choice. I didn't want to, but I felt comfortable enough in what he was telling me because he had stats to back it up. My other doctor didn't say, hey, Herceptin has an 80% chance of reversing the cancer. The other guy was like, you need to do
Mm.
it or you're going to die. That's what he said to me. You're going to die if you don't do it. So it's like,
I got
you know
told
what?
70, what is it? Even with the radiation, they tell you statistics. Yeah, like 30, what is it? It increases your chance of not getting a recurrence with 30% with radiation.
Mhm.
I like the statistics. I think they're
I
important.
I did the radiation just because I was like, I've done everything to pad myself here to protect myself. Let's hit it with everything that I've got. I really didn't
Mm.
want to do radiation. I actually, like, when I met the radiation oncologist, he said, you don't need it. He goes, you had clear margins on a full mastectomy. You don't need radiation. I said, perfect. I'm not going to do it. But then my surgeon had contacted the head of radiation and had her talk to the radiation oncologist, who then suggested I do it. I wish I hadn't, because I've never felt the same since that time. Whatever, I can't regret it. If I hold on to things in the past, it'll just make me depressed. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to move forward. But
We are
yeah,
where
I
we're at.
mean, I
Yeah.
mean, it sucks, but it is what it is. I hit cancer with everything that I had,
You
including
can never
cholestasis.
ever blame yourself for any
No,
mistakes or regrets on this journey
exactly.
because you didn't ask for this in the first place. And we're only
Yeah,
just doing the best that we can to get
for
through it.
sure.
Same like my grandma. Like, I never
She
blame
didn't
her
know
because she
what she
just did
didn't
the best
know.
that she could. She didn't
Yeah.
know. She didn't have any other options, and
And like the
you
thing
can't be
is,
hard on yourself about it.
no. And the ignorance is like not really your fault, especially for like a senior. She's tired, she's old, she doesn't have time to
Yep.
research. Like for me, I was like,
Yep.
I'm young, I can still research. My brain is
Me
still fully
too.
functioning. I'm going to do my research and do what I think works for me. But I mean, like radiation is the last step. And it's like you're exhausted now at this point. You've gone through surgery, you've gone through chemotherapy, for you, multiple surgeries. And it's like you're so beat down and so tired by the end of it that you're just like, you know what, just do it. Like I'm already here, just do it. It's like
Yeah.
I really
Yeah.
think they take advantage of weakness,
Mm.
because and your
You're vulnerable.
vulnerability, your fear,
Yeah.
yeah, and they run with it. And I hate that about our medical system because I don't think that's the right way. I know that's not the right way to do it. You need to empower people with education and give
Yeah.
them options and
And they
tell
don't want to
them,
teach you nothing. They just want to
yeah.
say, take this medicine and that's it. And it's like, well, how can I trust that even you know what you're talking about if you can't even show me how it works? Where's the knowledge and the data to back up how this stuff actually works? Why won't you teach me this stuff? You know,
Mhm.
I have to go and pay millions of dollars for schooling to go and learn this stuff from a freaking textbook. And it's the same thing the doctors all know, but they don't do any of their own research anyways. They never do their own research and they only know what the book has given them.
Not on holistic, not on prevention.
No,
It's really a reactive
no.
society, a reactive system that we have, and that sucks. I was given the best advice though once by my chiropractor. If you never go see a chiropractor, chiropractors are brilliant and they're usually pretty holistic. They are an amazing resource to have on your team. Anyway, I had this advice from her one day and she said, "You're no different than a doctor in that all they are people who went and listened to another person talk for X amount of hours a day. That's all they are." She's like, "So if you're at home doing all your own research as well, you know, you might not have the degree, you might not have the medical teaching." She's like, "But you can fill your mind with all kinds of information that empowers you the same way that a
Absolutely.
doctor can." And I was like, "You know what, girl? I'm Dr. Becky now." No, just kidding.
Recommend it. I was lucky actually. One of my best friends in Australia was an ultrasound sonographer. So she had actually spent over 8 years literally ultrasounding cancers. That was
Wow.
it. Cancers and babies.
Mhm.
So her whole journey, she specialized in the cancer side of things. She also did auditing for the cancer side of things too. So she was an amazing, incredible wealth of knowledge and resource for studying and learning. But I have to admit, like, anyone who's going through this journey, like what I have gone through, oh my goodness, you need to know because
Mhm.
they don't know and they're not checking for you. You are the only one who's going to advocate for yourself. You're the
Mhm.
only one who's going to do all the checks for
Yes.
your own health. You're the only one who's going to know where you're at, where you're going. All they do is they go, oh, you had this, take this. That's it. They're never going to look back and call you and go, how are you feeling? How's the medicine going? Let's get you in for another test.
Mhm.
You know, they have protocols and systems and it's cookie cutter and it's the same
Yeah.
for everybody. And at the end of the day, details get missed
Yeah.
all the time to the point where, like, when I pulled my freedom of information documents, I was blown away by how many
Mhm.
people in my team were literally flagging things left, right, and center, going, look at this. Hey, we missed this. Hey, we missed that. Hey, you didn't look at that. You didn't pay attention to this. Hey, the doctor ignored this. Why didn't anyone show up to this meeting today? There's no notes about the meeting where we were supposed to discuss these things on this report that
Mm.
don't add up. And I'm just like, all of this stuff is documented and they do not give it to you if you don't ask. And so if you don't know what you're reading and you don't understand any of this stuff, you have no idea what they're doing to you. Not a clue. And you don't
Wow.
know what their plan is with you for the future either. And
No.
I think it's really important to know where you're at
Yeah.
because there's been
You're entitled
times
to
like
it.
where I've said no to things and I've made the right decision. And they told
Mhm.
me later that they went, you're very smart that you said no to that. You're very smart. In fact, you did the right decision because if you didn't do it, you'd probably be worse off than you are now. So many
Wow.
times they've said this.
It's empowering to know that you have a voice and you have an opinion, and you know
Mm,
you can act on your convictions. You do not have to be coerced into something that you
absolutely.
don't feel is right for your body. Is it the right
Mm,
decision? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. That's, you know, that's the gamble that you take, but it's still your decision and you
it's
are
your
entitled
decision.
to
Yeah.
that. You're entitled to the all of the information, like all of the
And you have to
facts.
ask for it as well.
Yeah.
If you don't ask for it, they don't give it to you. So for anyone listening, ask for
Yes.
everything. Ask for all your
Everything.
documents, have a
Totally.
binder, keep everything on a lovely little like organized box or something so
Mhm.
that way you know
Yep.
where you're at in your journey. And I mean,
Mhm.
honestly, like I've studied so much to the point now where when I go into the doctors, they go, "Are you a doctor?" And I'm like,
Yep.
"No, I just
I'm
did what
Dr.
you did
Sarah.
and I studied."
I love that you're an advocate for yourself. I'm like so fired up having this conversation because
I
it's
love
like
it. Me
such the
too.
injustice that people go through. And I
It
feel like
is.
so many people have lost their battles to cancer because they just were not informed the right way. And
Mhm.
that is
Or they didn't
negligence. And this
advocate for
like
themselves.
this Hippocratic
Yeah.
oath of do no harm, it's like there's loopholes to it. Like, yeah, you might not directly be hurting somebody, but like withholding information and not giving all the facts and coercing them, that is harmful.
Mm,
And that pisses me
absolutely.
off. So I'm mad. I'm fired up. I'm going to title this episode, I'm fired up. But I appreciate you. And I love meeting like-minded people in this. It's a
Me
shame that
too.
Ashley's not here because she too would be fired up. But I'm thankful that you and I are getting this moment together. I am going to end the show here because we've been almost an
Sure.
hour in the
I'm
second
ready for
episode.
lunch.
Yeah, totally. I have an appointment coming up right away, so it's a good time anyway to end. But I just thank you so much for being here.
Of
Just
course.
quickly before you go, Sarah is a very talented photographer and videographer. Under her beautiful face is Wild Love Media. That is her social media handle. Please follow her there. She is so, so talented.
And you can also check out wildlovemedia.com as well
Oh,
if you want to
perfect.
see my portfolio.
Yes, go do that.
Yay!
Hire her.
Well, thank you so much for having me on the show. I
Love
am
having
so
you.
glad that you posted up and just said that you were looking for people to speak about their health journey. And
Totally.
I just feel like really, really honored that you gave me the space to do this because I feel like my journey is something that no one understands, no one really cares about. They just go, "Oh, you're sick." Okay, cool.
No,
And it's like,
we care.
there is so much going on in here. I need to share with the world because it's important for the people
It is.
who actually need to know this stuff, you
I
know?
mean, if there's one thing you can take as a positive of having cancer, me as like an eternal optimist, it's like I needed to find one good thing about it. And it's that I can use my story as motivation or inspiration for other people. As crappy it is as it is that I had to live it or that you have to live it or
Yeah.
Ash has to live it, it's like we at least get to share. And if it empowers even one person, then it'll be worth it, you know?
Think so. I think so. Even if just one person we can change, it makes me happy. I try to
Totally.
make friends in the cancer group and help them any way I can. And I think
Mhm.
it's important we try to band together and help each other and support each other. So thank you so much for this channel.
Absolutely. Yes, we are here for you now. We are friends now, and I'm very
Yay!
excited about that. So thank you so
Can't
much
wait to
for
meet you
being here.
again.
Well, everybody, I hope you are feeling as motivated and as fired up and inspired as I am. I love meeting like-minded people because it's hard sometimes talking to people who are just really close-minded on the topic. If they just think that cancer is a one-stop shop, they're so wrong, and it's very frustrating because I just feel like there's so much more to your healing journey in your life than just taking poison and radiation. Anyways, I will end for today. Please join us again next week when Ashley and I are back. And I've got a whole bunch of people lined up over the next couple of weeks. So I can't wait for everyone to see those episodes and follow along with us on our socials, Two Girls Without Cancer. Bye, everyone.